to Beyond the Veil with Adina. I am Adina, you guys' hostess with the mostest on this channel, and your resident medium, oracle, woo lady, priestess, wise woman, whatever you call us, including crazy lady by some people who are not into what I do here. Welcome to my platform. Welcome to my channel. It is 1:35 in the afternoon here in Florida. Not sure what time it is in all of the places where you guys are, but blessings to you on this day of Mercury. If you are not into mediumship and readings, divinations, and necromancy, I invite you to exit stage left because we do all of the above here and we do them very well. If that's not your cup of tea, I invite you to go and sip your matcha elsewhere. If this is your cup of tea, I invite you to pull up a chair, have a seat, and please be entertained as everything I'm going to say in this reading, except for the information at the end of the video, will be just for entertainment purposes and based on my opinion, nothing more, nothing less. Welcome to Beyond the Veil. I understand that it's in the middle of the afternoon and a lot of you guys won't be able to join me today, but I have time right now to do our current event Wednesday. I will be back later on for a members live when I know most of my members are not at work. And with my return for my members live, I may come back into another public live, another current event just for the people who are inconvenienced by me doing this live right now, this early in the afternoon while everybody is at work, or most people are at work. Please, if you are joining me today, this afternoon for this live, please let me know how you're doing in the chat. I'd love to know how you're doing, and I'd love to also send you some blessings for joining me on this Wednesday. YouTube says nobody's in here, so I'll probably be talking to myself this whole live, but it'll be good for the replay game. And so this most likely will be for them because I don't think anyone is here with me at this moment. I'll just give you guys a little time to make yourselves comfortable as you come in. Greetings to you as you do. I'm going to bite this dry mango because I'm starving, per usual. And then we'll begin as I see you guys start filling in. Please let me know how your Wednesday is going. Hello, Toto Boy 77. Happy Wednesday to you and blessings to you on this day of Mercury. How you doing? Ugh. I take it everyone's doing well since nobody is saying anything. That also lets me know that everybody that's in here is a bush watcher or is new around here. Because everybody who's a regular around here knows that when you come in, we speak to each other. Especially since I asked you guys how your day's going. Here, have a dried mango slice. It's a healthy alternative to processed sweets when you need a sweet. All right. Well, thank you, Dimple. Thank you. Hello, aloha, plate lunch. How are you guys doing this Wednesday? It's the day of Mercury. So I hope that you guys are thinking clearly. I hope that you guys' decision making is not experiencing any duality, but all of your decisions today are being processed through both hemispheres of the brain, helping you come up with a very wise decision today. If you guys are in the business of contracts and writing or anything that has to do with communications or documentation, I hope that your tongue does not tie, that you are able to speak eloquently, that you are able to think, write, and create without any blockages as well. That is what I wish for you all on this day of Mercury. I am from the United States, and since you called me Sunshine, I will also let you know that I am from the Sunshine State, Florida. Thank you, Garrett. Okay, well, I don't see any of my regulars in here, but we'll continue anyways. Hey, Carol. Miss Carol, how you doing? Finally, a familiar face. I always feel a little weird doing these lives without any of my regulars. I need at least one because I don't know these other people in here. And so I don't know how they're going to behave. So it makes me feel like I'm in a room full of strangers. Thank you for coming out of the woodworks, Miss Carol, to let me know that you're here. For everyone who is just joining me, hey, Rosia. Okay, good. Okay, all right, all right, all right. I feel safe. I feel like I have run to the arms of the ones who love me. So, so thank you, thank you, Chava. Thank you for sending me love. I'm sending you love right back. All right, all right. So now I feel a little safe. Hey, Rosia, my beautiful Rosia. Y'all know how fine Rosia is? Real fine. She real fine. In real life, too. Miss Carol is a writer. She send me scriptures, messages, and all kinds of daily words and things almost daily. So, and I love you guys back. Okay, see how my whole mood changed as soon as my beloveds came in? Okay, great. So, for those of you all who are new here, I am a medium, I am a necromancer, I am an oracle. I do all of those things here and I do them well. So please exit stage left if that's not your thing. Do not disrespect my community, please. If that is and you're a little bit intrigued or interested, stick around. I'm going to take a bite of my fried dried mango. Hey, Rose Moon, because these are delicious, healthy, and lately they have been fulfilling my sweet craving. Y'all got to try these. Liv, you know what? I just figured out who you are. I just it hit me when you were emailing me yesterday, and if I'm wrong about who you are, then you'll say that I didn't email you yesterday. But when I thought about your American name or your the name that you give everybody, and I thought, wait a second, Liv Saturn, and then now I know who you are. It hit me when you said you rewatched the Reclaiming the Prophecy on Revelation, and I was like, who are you in the members live? And then it hit me. And I noticed that after we talked, I noticed that you've been signing off with your real name, as I told you to do. I noticed it, and I like that. I like it. I noticed the small details. So I'm gonna begin as soon as I put this other slice of dried mango in my mouth because it's the afternoon. I haven't eaten lunch, and doing readings lately has started making me hungry. I probably need to increase my protein because I go to the gym first thing in the morning. And so my body afterwards is still probably doing a lot. And then readings require a whole lot of energy as well. So I'm hungry even more now, but noticeably so when I'm doing readings. So please excuse me if I take a bite or take a drink smack dab in the middle of the video. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to adjust to this new way that my body is alchemizing my energy. All right. So, welcome to Current Event Wednesday. We'll do this every Wednesday. Every Monday will be Necromancy Monday. Every Wednesday will be Current Event Wednesday. And every Friday, we will Let's Chat, where I'll let you guys get your rocks off and talk about whatever you like me to talk about. Look into whatever you like. Great day to do a Current Event Wednesday because the world is falling apart in the East. And as I stated, when I looked into President Trump kidnapping the leaders of Venezuela as well as kidnapping their oil reserves and then, you know, parading them around the streets as captive, literally paraded them around the streets of DC in the back of whatever government van that they used to transport them, doors wide open, them bound, people in the streets, just so that we can mock and ridicule the fact that we had these leaders of Venezuela hostage. I said, what a time to be alive. And what a time to be alive for a millennial. We can't catch a break any goddamn where. Millennials, our break will be our death. That might be the only time we know peace because we ain't child. So, anyways, in that same video, the outcome was the King of Wands. And I said, you guys, this isn't over. And this is not the last country that our fearless emperor will be targeting. And I said, he actually already has his eyes on somebody else. And here we go. We're in Iran. Our government is debating action against the Iran regime. And as of today, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Based on CNN.com, this article from today, some personnel have been urged to leave a U.S. military base in Qatar as a precaution, as sources tell CNN that President Donald Trump increasingly believes he must take decisive action against the Iranian regime. Why? Why? Why are you in Venezuela saving the Venezuelans from their regime? Why are you in Iran saving the Iranians from their regime? And oh, don't forget, we also collect their resources while we're there. He has warned Tehran against executing protesters. Iranian authorities have pledged to swiftly punish anti government protesters, with officials warning that anyone arrested is considered guilty of waging internal war against the regime. An Iranian protester may be executed today, according to the U.S. State Department and a family member. At least 2,400, that is 2,400 I see we don't have any mods in here because the trolls are trolling. Okay. But I know why. You guys know the feds be lurking around here, right? And they know my reputation. So they send the trolls when they see me discussing certain topics that they don't want someone with my skill set to look into. So don't even bother Holy or Holly with the trolls. They are not here to be respectful. They are here to derail and distract. All my mods must be at work, so we will make do with just me. 2,400, that's 2,400 protesters in Iran have been killed since the start of Iran's brutal crackdown last month, according to a US based rights group. An internet blackout is still in place. The atmosphere in Tehran is extremely heavy and tense. No, you cannot be a mod. I don't know you. All right. No offense, but I don't know you enough for you to mod for me. I'm actually very special, but okay. All right. French government explores sending Eutelsat terminals to Iran to enable internet connectivity. What does the French have to do with Iran? You know, once the US and their allies start allying, and to think, all of this started to take place once Africa kicked France out. Thank you, Chava. You may genuinely be trying to help me, but because your name is new around here, you're not that familiar to me. I don't know you enough to be a mod. I'm sorry. All right. Once all of this began, immediately after France was kicked out of Africa, Africa, including, it started off with about five of their countries being led by Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, Burkina, Mali, Benin, Niger, I believe Sudan, decided to band together in an effort to dispel all of the foreign occupiers out of Africa, especially the foreign occupiers who occupy more power in Africa than the Africans. They decided to dispel them and reclaim their own sovereignty. They did that by telling France to kick rocks, pretty much. They are not teaching their school curriculums in the French language. Actually, the French language is no longer their primary language. They've resorted back to or reverted back to honoring their native tongues, teaching in their native tongues, honoring all of their nations and their countries' resources, and keeping everything in house. They basically told France and any other colonial entity, if you want to do business in Africa, then that means you have to do business with Africa, not on top of Africa, so to speak. And we here at the Beyond the Veil, we here are here for that. That is my personal stance um, as an African woman in the diaspora. So, nevertheless, I'm all for sovereignty of oneself and removing any controlling factors that seek to subjugate. Nevertheless, immediately after that, I won't even say maybe a few days after, a few weeks after France was moved out, there was a summit in South Africa where President Trump claimed that the South Africans did not treat them very nicely, literally said they didn't treat us nicely. I imagine South Africa noticed what its African brothers and sisters as nations in Africa, countries in Africa, were doing. And they started to notice that there's a movement, a real tangible movement this time in Africa of unity. It is my opinion that the surrounding nations within that continent are taking notice and are joining that team. So Trump decided we're not going to do another G2 summit in South Africa. The next one will be at Mar-a-Lago, and the South Africans are not invited because they weren't nice to us. I told y'all, instead of rolling out the red carpet and giving their ass filet mignon and caviar, they gave their ass fufu and a goosey. No utensils, hand washing dish, and told them to dig in. And the US was like, excuse me. Didn't give them the rooms, the suites at the Intercontinental this time. No, they gave them the Safari Suite. They gave them the Safari Suite. Yes. And And America was so insulted and said, we'll show Africa. We'll show Africa for assuming their sovereignty over us. And you know what happened next? Well, you guys start hearing about Christians being persecuted in Africa, specifically Nigeria. Nigeria has the largest population, I believe, or is the largest city, or is it a city? What is Nigeria? A state? Country? Country, right? It's the largest, I believe, in Africa. I might be wrong, but I believe it's the largest, or it has the largest population. So their decision to drop a bomb on Nigeria made more sense if you're trying to take a dig at Africa than you target Nigeria. That, in my opinion, was retaliation against France and her allies, being America, being kicked out of Africa unless they want to do ethical business with Africa. The retaliation tells me, thank you, country. The retaliation tells me that they don't want to do ethical business with Africa, that they want to maintain their stronghold, their colonial stronghold in Africa. The reason for saying that it was Christians is because Africa, in an attempt to reassert its own sovereignty and re-honor its own nature, its own nation, its own culture, they would like to revert back to the African way of doing things. And obviously, they would have an issue with people who are brainwashed under colonial mentalities, that choose colonial mentalities over their own people, their own ancestors, their own roots. As harsh as that may sound, it's the only way. This is where you guys' opinion of me, I hope it doesn't change. But if it does, if you don't like it, you guys are free to leave. But if you understand what it takes, then you'd understand. Those people, the United States, those Christians, the United States did not open up their doors for them to give them a place of refuge for them. Instead, the United States went and bombed Nigeria. So forget saying that there are Christians being persecuted in Nigeria. Our government went and dropped a bomb on all they asked. And so it was never about defending or protecting any Christians against persecution in Nigeria, because they know that Christians are not being especially singled out more so than anyone else. And maybe the only issue is nobody is coming to save them, as well as the Muslims that are being persecuted as well, because all of those are colonial. All of these are either Arabic or Western religions and mentalities. And maybe, just maybe, they're not doing anything to save them. But that's not a crime. I think, if anything, that's what it is, because we do know that there are, what is it, the RDF? Um, what is that extremist group that they said is doing all the killings, even though I believe that they are hired Western agents to be domestic terrorists, so that given the need, a foreign entity will have the excuse to come in because of those domestic terrorists. But I believe that they are planted by by foreign entities to be terrorists in Africa and persecute whomever they can, so that one day, if need be, they can pull that card. Now, Africa may just be like, all right, well, they doing us a favor, because we would really like to rid ourselves of all colonial powers and any people who, Boko Haram, that's it, not the RDF, Boko Haram, them, divide and conquer, absolutely. Nigeria, Africa just may be like, let them go ahead and do away with them, and then we'll worry about Boko Haram later, because we can't do anything with people in Africa, Africans who are against African sovereignty because they want to be colonial. Instead of taking your ass to the US or asking why the US doesn't give you a place of refuge instead of dropping a bomb on your home after saying that they wanted to protect you from being persecuted. And then after they realized that um, Abraham Traore and his African brethren who were going to support the movement, once he realized, yeah, they different, he turned his head and said, but Venezuela, yeah, we can do them. We can do that. We can get away with that. We got to work our way up to Africa. It ain't that easy. Who else can we pick on that ain't as mighty as the great Mother Earth? Venezuela, get your ass in. Oh, yeah, they tried it. But you see, they didn't go the way they did with Venezuela over there in the motherland. You guys want a bite of my dried mango? And then they set their eyes again on Iran. Still ain't circled back to Africa. They'll pick on everybody else, but they ran up in there. They ran up in Africa and they said, eh, eh, eh. They sure did. They said, we will show you. Trump said, all right, I'm just walk out. I'm just head out the back. Ain't nobody gotta let me out the front. I'm just head on out the back door and I'm trying to figure out let's see. 1, 2, we need about 75 more. Maybe if we take over Iran and Venezuela and they oil, we'll have enough oil so that when we circle back, we could really do some damage to Africa because they're too big for us to do some damage now. So what we need is more strength. So let me go back, get some oil from Venezuela, boom, 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 run to the side, get some more oil from Iran, boom. Then we'll be able to gas up and run on over there to Africa. Not just the strong military forces. They got other forces that the rest of the world don't know about. Think about Black Panther and Wakanda. You think Abraham, before he decided to launch this, wasn't aware of something that they had that the West didn't know they had that they could rely on? Even if it's just a vision or a dream he had from the ancestors that said, you the one who gonna take it. It's plenty over there that they have that the West, or it's not publicly known that they have, but it's the land of milk and honey. So everybody in the world knows that anything that they could possibly need to maintain power over the world, they can find it there, including its people, which is why they took Africa's people and shipped them throughout the West to help build up the West colonies. Because they know what the best resource is. Only broke people know anything about what wigs cost on Temu. Jamal, you a grown man and you up in here talking about wig prices on Temu. First of all, I wouldn't know what anything costs on Temu because I don't shop there. The moment you find out you already out of your league to even speak, comment in my live is when you should just rethink your entire existence. Temu, what's that? You worried about my wig when everything I own is paid off? Car, house, the land my house is on, my career. I don't clock into nobody's job. I clock in for myself. It's just, you worrying about the wrong kind of stuff. I ain't gonna let them distract me no more, but I took a minute to flex because just think about who you talking to when y'all troll me. Y'all probably trolling me from your lunch break. You got 15 minutes before you got to clock in. And that ain't no shade to nobody at work. But if you trolling me while you supposed to be at work, that's a problem because I'm making money on it. All right. So Trump realized, and please believe, Africa is the goal. Africa is the target. It doesn't matter who else they circling the block to now. It's to build up. It's to collect the resources to go after the motherland. So with that being said, boom, realized he was barking up a tree that he couldn't climb yet. So he found out an easy lick was Venezuela. Now the US, in preparation for this moment, in my opinion, because all of this is, none of this is fact except for the excerpts I read from news articles. Nevertheless, it's my opinion that the US sows seeds of division and discord decades and decades in advance before, because of course you have to be smart, you have to be a strategy when you're a world power. So in all of the countries where they are not your ally and potentially could be your op or have not so good relations with, it would be in your interest to plant a few seeds there. It'd be in your interest to do so. Because in case you need to go to some sort of war with this country, you need to already have seeds being sown and grown of dissension within that country so that you could just call up on your plants and activate them. Activate them into, doing what they were placed there to do. Everywhere, yes, absolutely. And so that, in my opinion, is why you saw so many Venezuelan citizens cheering for another country to invade their country. And I told Venezuela and those citizens who thought this was good, you guys are going to regret it for the rest of your lives. And I say that in my most Angela Bassett from Waiting to Exhale voice. Oh, yeah. And you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And that man did when she was finished with him in court. Venezuela. Those citizens, either some of y'all were the plants that they sold or y'all were influenced by the plants. But let me tell you something. Whatever going on in y'all house ain't worse than what it looked like when somebody who ain't your kin decide to come in and run your house because they don't care about you. Huh? Including, especially, the U.S. government. Look at all of these citizens. Broken, and in despair. Broke in and in despair. And y'all thought the Great White Hope was going to do what? That's the problem with all the nations in the world. And I blame world media but I blame y'all also for being able to be hypnotized and digmatized and lied to. Y'all just was hypnotized, digmatized, and lied to. And like I said to Venezuela, why ain't nobody asked the blacks? Y'all ain't asked the coloreds, the Negroes? Y'all should have asked us instead of letting the media tell y'all we was thugs and crazy and we was the cancer over here. I'm not a reaction channel. I'm here for people who have brains. You go to reaction channels when you don't know what to think for yourself. You go to reaction channels when you need to see and be influenced by someone else. This is the perfect opportunity for me to tell y'all, this is not going to be the channel for most of you. Go ahead, leave. Go ahead, leave. All right. They got the aggressive trolls in here today. Somebody said they don't need you, lady. Just shut up. All right. Y'all should have asked the blacks, but everybody in the world was looking at us like we were the problem. Meanwhile, y'all didn't even realize as y'all was slowly being influenced. Nevertheless, we're not going to go there. I'm just going to say, you guys weren't paying attention to the conditions. And if you were, the media that came from the West told you guys that we deserve the treatment that we got. And if you believe that, as a Black woman who the world may think but it deserves the treatment we got, if you call on the great white hope to be your savior, then you deserve the treatment you get. Absolutely. Because it's our experience here under the great white hope that helped us learn to be resilient and unfoolable. So if we want humans to evolve, then the rest of y'all need to be purified by the same fire if you've been begging for it. Now, after they did that to Venezuela, which was an easy lick, a very easy lick, because there were boots on the ground that allowed that to happen. They had ops right in their own house. So now you see why Iran is taking the stance that they're taking, with protesters against them trying to clank down on any Western influence in their country. Because Venezuela was taken while its citizens, and it might not be all of them, but it shouldn't have been any of y'all motherfuckers being in the streets celebrating the downfall of your nation. So Iran saw all this. I didn't get that when I read that. I didn't get quite in on it as I did. They were they were out strategized. Just out strategized in my opinion. But no, I think they played too cute with the US until it was too late. Because I do believe that they did business with US based drug cartels. But I think that they felt like if they didn't, then the US would persuade those cartels to do exactly what they're doing now. So I don't think I don't think they were in on it as much as I feel like they did what they had to do to maintain whatever power they could in their own country, because it's, in my opinion, because I've been reading on this, that most of those drug cartels that they say are cartels just solely run by these other countries are backed by the US. The US has more money than all of those countries, so it makes sense to do business with the US and not strictly a Venezuela or a Colombia. You ain't gonna make that much money selling drugs there. It's way more money to be made in the US off of US consuming citizens. So yes, those are some of the seeds of dissension. Yeah, I don't believe Venezuela did that to themselves. I just don't. And I think that the war on Venezuela started a long time ago and their leaders were not equipped to maintain. But nevertheless, that's neither here or there. So you can see why Iran is taking the stance that it is with its citizens. I'm not here to judge right or wrong, but as the middle medium that I am, I get it. I get how citizens are mourning, and I get how Iran is saying, we have to do what we have to do to save our country. We can't allow our own citizens to be in favor of acts of foreign countries against us. Mm, It's in my opinion that someone close to the leadership did, which I stated when I looked at it, but we're all entitled, nevertheless. So here we are with Iran. All right, Shava, I got you. I heard you. And I also do not debate, especially a stance that I've looked at and come up to a conclusion. But you're more than welcome. You are more than welcome to go on your platform and do your videos on the topic there. All right. Nevertheless, here we are in Iran. And so I'm going to go ahead and tap in. All right. One second. I haven't used. One second. And y'all enjoy the views. Uh, I haven't used my sword of truth in a long time. And I said I was going to start using the sword of justice. But those are my ceremonial swords. So this is a ceremonial sword too, but it's for readings. I shall unsheath it. Unsheathing it means I'm invoking the spirit of truth before I begin divining, and my sword of truth against those who are here to cause dissension. It may be shits and giggles right now while I'm pointing this sword at you, but in the next 24, 48, 72 hours, when unfortunate events start taking place in your life, I point it so that you remember who's responsible. You. Swords given to me from my sensei as a gift. All right. Most High Mother and Father God, please allow me to conjure up the spirit, soul, and collective energy of Iran. Yes, the country. My spirit said the country. Yes, child, the country. They like, Lord, she finna put us to work. Actually, yep, let me do Iran first. And then I'll look at this from the perspective of the U.S. This I will be looking at to see how Iran is responding to these new protesters and threats from the U.S. Please allow me to conjure up the spirit, soul, and collective energy of the leadership of Iran, because they're the ones who are able to make decisions on behalf of Iran. Whomever they are, whomever is at the head leading the nation of Iran, allow me to conjure up their spirit, soul, and collective energies. Compel them to speak their soul's truth to me, and allow me as an oracle to hover over the nation of Iran, the country of Iran, to be able to look down on the situation from a bird's eye view. Open my ears to hear conversations that are being had. Open my eyes to see things that one would not be able to see with their physical eyes. Open my mind to help me understand everything else that my senses are allowing to come into my consciousness. Open my heart to passion, which I have for this great work. Unsheath my fierce and loyalists, my most fear and loyal protections and protectors. May they hunger for the energy of a troll or an up. May they see and acknowledge whomever and wherever those souls are, and make sure they don't miss. You guys ready? Hey, JD. Welcome. All right. Java is telling on the trolls. Javin's like, JD, get in here and do your job. They tripping in here today, and she won't let me be a mod. Hey, Keisha. All right, you guys ready? I see the trolls already start leaving. It's only 6 people in here, so they say. All right, Iran. Spirit, Iran is trying to close their doors, close the ranks, and close the doors on their country so that they can go into conservation and survival mode, protective mode, defensive mode. The US has set their sights on Iran, and I'd like to know why. Nope, 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 nope. Let me see from Iran how they are handling these threats from the US government and why are they being threatened with the US government from the US government. Where will this situation go? Will the US start dropping bombs on Iran? Will they try and run off like they did with Africa? Decide to go pick on someone else smaller and then work their way up again? Talk to me about it from Iran's perspective. Iran is persecuting or executing protesters against them closing the ranks and closing the doors on their own country. We may not like it, but I'd like to see why it's happening from a spiritual perspective and how Iran will move forward under the threat of their own citizens and the U.S. Resources. It's resources, of course. But I mentioned that first, second, third, several times I've read Trump months ago. Shit, who knows? Anyways, resources, of course. At least that's what Iran thinks. Iran thinks that Trump is on the move for resources. This tells me that there has been some diplomacy between them. It hasn't been like we're best friends. This is more, yeah, we'll work something out. I'll say whatever I need to say to make sure we work this out, but you know, might be some other feelings there in this cup as well. Iran feels like the U.S. is making a move for their resources and that they are inciting or manipulating opinions, public opinion, and their citizens' opinions. I'm so curious as to how so many of Iran's people are protesting or are protesting against Iran when Iran is not currently attacking the U.S. If Iran was attacking the U.S. unprovoked or without the citizens' support, I could see them protesting. But Iran hasn't been over here bothering us. So I wonder where they, what exactly the protests. But Qatar says the U.S. is evacuating military base in response to current regional tensions. And so the U.S. is telling some of this personnel to leave. Them people ain't playing with y'all. Get up out of there. They ain't even saying we coming to get you. They saying, hey, look, we done fucked up. And them people mad. So it ain't safe. Just go. Just go. Oh, no, it did. The base was targeted in June after the U.S. struck Iran's nuclear facilities. This is the. Do they need oil for the nuclear facilities? Iran is in the 6th day of a government imposed internet blackout. It's the right thing to do. expected to last for the next week or two as the regime cracks down on mass protests. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said in a Wednesday statement that relevant institutions will make a final decision on internet access in a week or two. But they said almost all domestic websites are available. I'm curious though, do I have any Iranians? If the US attacked you guys' nuclear facilities in June, what made you guys want to protest your government in January? If Iran executes protesters, US President Donald Trump warned yesterday, the US will take very strong action, though he did not specify the nature of that action. He earlier told the protesters via a Truth Social post to keep protesting because help is on the way. See what I mean? See what I mean about the seeds being sown? Here you have the US President of the United States telling Iranians to continue protesting their government because help is on the way. You mean the same kind of help y'all gave the Venezuelans? Are they any better? Or what about the help that y'all gave to the Africans when y'all went over there on missions trips ever since the beginning of you spreading cancer, Christianity like a STD? Remember, because y'all was supposed to go over there and give the Christians the good Lord Jesus. Y'all was supposed to, but they got malaria and their resources being pillaged, corruption, disgrace. They even got hell. They now you got Bill Trump over there trying to sterilize the women. And then the US, listen, they gave y'all Jesus and then said, any Christians over there being persecuted, prayers to you. We can't do nothing about it. We know that we came over there to spread the gospel, but when the gospel getting you in trouble, sorry, buddy. Nothing I can do about that. I'll drop a bomb though. I'll bomb something for you. And the Christian's like, yeah, but what about bombing our house? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, let me drop this bomb. So yes, anytime a colony invades a land that they want to set their stake in, one of the things that they will do, or one of the covert ways that they will do it, is psychological warfare. They know Africans are a spiritual people. So the best way to infiltrate them was through their spirituality. They demonized that and then gave them something better. Your Savior, your Lord and Savior, who happens to be white, like me. Shango, Yemaya, Ogun, the devil. Peter, Paul, James, Matthew, John, the right way to heaven. Why they ain't over there? Why they ain't got Christian? They knew they couldn't pull that shit in Iran. So the only other psychological warfare is to make them upset with their government. By time, free your mind. By time. And I'm here for it. There has been a wake up and a progress. The spirit is moving, and I'm here for it. And I say about time, but any time is better than no time. So I am here for it. And the U.S. employed the same, in my opinion, the same techniques here. Even here, it says Trump earlier told the protesters via a Truth Social post to keep protesting. Help is on its way. But by the time y'all get there, Iran is killing those people who are listening to you. And it's, in my opinion, that if the US were really concerned about the well being of international citizens, then before they decided to start this new world, this newly revived colonization, recolonization, then they would have set up measures for the poor citizens who will be casualties of war. You don't plan and prepare to do another world dominance campaign without taking into account what are we going to do with these people? What are we going to do about these people? So it never had anything to do with helping you all. It's more like using you all. Some countries are too strong to run up in guns a-blazing. Iran, Africa, but you can weaken it first by destabilizing the unity. And while your country is busy dealing with their own domestic terrorists, perfect time to run up in there and catch y'all off guard. So all I'm saying is y'all haven't grown up under the great white hope, but we have. So y'all better get y'all some black friends because we know how to survive. We survived since the beginning of the world, the beginning of civilization. Better get you a black friend. We've been talking to the U.S. has been talking nice to the Iran citizens. Well, then get your ass out of here. Why you didn't just come up on this alive. You had to be here long enough to hear me say that about having good friends, black friends. And then it took you a few minutes after that to respond. So you've been here this whole time on a black woman's channel just to say you good off black people. Notice how the trolls are here waiting for an opportunity to strike, but they're in here. They're quiet at first until I say something that needs to be distracted, and then they'll start typing. I've read them too, so I know. I know what they look like, and I know that they're in here. They're always here. Now we just went from 12 to 8 people. That's because some of their ass got logged off. They left. They feel seen, and they are. Challenge position. This is unfortunate because the US and Iran has had to have some sort of agreement that should not have been betrayed. This is a breach of contract between parties that have an agreement. And these are threats of more violence. Not saying that they were friends, but I think that there was an understanding between the US, Iran, and whomever this third party is, probably France or Israel. But in my opinion, Israel is the US and France. So, and since it says that France is threatening to send in whatever, I can't even, French government explores sending Eutelsat terminals to Iran to enable internet connectivity. So, ever since France got kicked out of Africa, France and the US have been tag teaming everybody who is an op to them, which surprises me about France because I don't see y'all that way. I don't see y'all as a bully, and I don't see y'all as anything, anyone, anybody would be afraid of. And y'all know that, which is why you send your guard dog to US. Everybody hides behind the US when they ain't big and bold enough. And yet it's me popping my ish because friends, y'all listen, I hate a coward. I hate a weak bully. I hate a coward bully. I don't respect bullies, but god dang, a bully that's an outright bully, it's a bully. Not a chihuahua bully. That's what France and honestly, the one that's using all of them are. So that's their challenge. Iran, you guys have attacks coming from the big three, to be honest. This is a failed attempt. Now, this was either the strike on their nuclear facilities in June, or this is their failed attempt to collect the resources and get their get back on Africa, because this is the US and France. They're the ones who were dropped out of Africa. France first, and then the US had that treatment in South Africa that they claimed they didn't treat us good. That could have been anything. That could have just them not kissing their ASS anymore, but they didn't like it. So this is the US being dropped from places where they were able to maintain some sort of economic control. They had their foot there on their oil reserves, both the US and France, but they both got dropped and cannot take because, to be honest, they're going broke. If all the places, and mind you, these are people who are not protected under natural law. You know the covenant that the Creator made with humans, humans and communities. Nations and Neanderthals was not a part of that deal, not a part of that covenant. And so nations were formed after they decided, well, since we've been marked as wanderers and vagabonds, no home, no homeland or home wealth for ourselves, no land of milk and honey for us, banished and exiles to the barren and cold regions for being lovers of murder of our fellow mankind brethren, possibly, allegedly, according to their good book. And so they decided the only way we can survive is to take from all the humans, all the lands of milk and honey. And so as soon as an empire came with enough power to help them, Roman Empire, Roman Empire in Britain, they started on this mission. And each land where they sunk their teeth in was a land of milk and honey. Resources. When the lands of milk and honey and the peoples of the land of milk and honey decide that they no longer, it's called a God language, Michael. You won't understand it though. When they send the white trolls in, I know they start seething. Ooh, they back there at the headquarters. Send them in. 1, 2, 3, release them. Seething, faces orange, first starting to perspire and stick to their foreheads, sweat dripping, palms are sweaty. What's the song that stand or that the step back to reality? Yup, that goes rabbit. But yeah, that's how they feeling. Listening to Eminem in a dark room, pressing that troll button on me. Ooh, I could almost hear him. When I start talking about their roots in parables, when I use their own scriptures to remind them of their roots. So, anyways, so they went on their world domination because they were exiled from all the lands of milk and honey due to them having the nature of violence and murder against fellow mankind. When all the people who are still under the covenant, decide we've been bamboozled, and now we remember who we are and who they are. So game over, broke. If everybody's taking back their resources, think about how the West came into power. And friends, let me tell y'all something. It's in my opinion that you guys helped the founding fathers pull that coup on Britain, which is why we've been ace boon coon since. See, if I was Britain, but Britain weak too. All y'all weak because of y'all hybrid DNA. Anyways, though, y'all always behind the scene with a baguette, stirring up some, stirring up something. Come on out. All right. So past position, the US and France is going broke, to be honest. Y'all can't depend on Britain to come help y'all because don't forget how we got here in the US, how we got these great colonies. So Britain said, yeah, I'm gonna back off, but don't think I'm gonna come help y'all. I ain't forget. We not friends like that. Sorry, I had to plug up my charger. So nah, you and France on your own, buddy. Good luck to you. London said, you know how many Africans we got over here? And nah, we good. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Remember, this is what y'all wanted. So now they're left out. And what we see from them is survival, panic, desperation, which is why they're so brazenly running up in other people's countries, stealing things, kidnapping leaders, and not even being shy about it. This is what I call not the great white hope, but great white desperation. Because people are taking their stuff back. No wonder the trolls are in here. All right, Queen of Pentacles in reverse. This is Iran locking the doors. It's time to lock the doors. So this is the Iran will be looking to protect Iran. They're going to be locking the doors. And yes, it is going to get hard for any citizens in Iran who do not want to see a pro-Iranian regime in a time where there isn't a foreign threat. And they're desperate enough for resources to not give a F. Only thing Trump is waiting on is a way in, a safe way in, which is why he say, there could be an attack. He got to go in the war room and make some calls with the other guys to see, all right, can we do this? How can we get in there with them reserves? I mean, because they struck their nuclear facilities, but in my opinion, that was because they were planning to come up in there. They were planning to run up in their house. They were planning to kick the doors in and just run up in there and take shit. So they wanted to knock out all the nuclear facilities first. But based on the way Iran is responding, now they got to walk a little light and see the best way to approach this thing now. Because Iran is kind of telling them, we're not tolerating any of this. If we'll do this to our own citizens who have been poisoned and brainwashed by your propaganda, think about what we're gonna do to you if we catch you up in here. So Smokey, Debo is not playing by his money. And by Smokey, I mean the US. He ain't playing. All right. Crowning Iran is this Three of Wands. That is France, you better be careful because I think that Iran is looking at it like, all right, if the US wants to attack us, France, because it said French government explores sending Eutelsat terminals to Iran, they're waiting on you at the door, France. Eutelsat is a Paris-based satellite operator that has a fleet of low Earth orbit satellites that can deliver internet service from space. So, whatever the case, Iran is standing out on its shores or above its shores, watching for any move you guys make. They are readying themselves. So, don't think that just because they're handling their internal issues, that they're not also watching and preparing for one of y'all to come in. So, if y'all want to run up on Iran, they're at the door, cocked and ready. Their only their only goal right now is self-preservation, as it should be. Conservation and preservation of their resources in their country. Now, this is the US and France, and Iran has already made a harsh decision that they will react harshly, violently if they have to. It will be no diplomacy if if the US or France or any of their allies start to actively come for Iran. They've made a decision on how they are going to handle both of you guys, Iran, US, and France. And to be honest, in my opinion, because of how I feel with this Two of Swords in reverse, France is only as bold as the moves the US is willing to make first. I don't think France is all that bold. They're not going to make any moves on anyone unless the US is all in with them. Because they got kicked out of Africa, but it was the US who led the attack against Nigeria. In my opinion, if anybody can neutralize France, it it won't make the US so weak that it can't do anything, but it'll definitely make their ass sit down for a moment. It'll shake them up a little bit, and they'll have to take a moment to re-strategize. And in my opinion, France is the weakest link out of this three-party alliance with France, US, and you know who. In my opinion, Israel. France is the weakest link. They'll have to regroup because it's a three-man party that they're doing, led by the US and France, which is led by the US and then France. So it will cause them to have to take a moment, sit down, and regroup. There you go. Domestic terrorism. Now, this is an external factor. So these protesters, I don't know if all of them are true blue blood Iranian citizens or if there's some weird going on. But the US, in my opinion, had something to do with this because it's in the external energy. This should have been in the present position, meaning they're currently having to deal with their own citizens who don't like them. When did these protests start? When did Iran protests start? Don't let me find out this anytime in 2026, because I'm going to tell y'all. A timeline of protests in Iran, according to the New York Times, and I don't know if I'll be able to watch that. Oh, no, it's the Washington Post that doesn't let you read things for free. For the past 2 weeks, oh no, they do want me to create a free account or log in, and I don't do that. All right, so let's find another one. Al Jazeera, what we know about the protests sweeping Iran. Protests in Iran over the country's economic conditions, which broke out in late December 2025, have snowballed. And it's a setup. And if you guys are going to say, no, I spoke to my grandmother and she really does that, it's still a setup. And you want to know another secret? Humans are some of the easiest systems to be manipulated. Shh. I know you guys, everybody thinks they're really smart and woken up on game, but Iran's foreign minister says protests became bloody to give Trump intervention excuse. Iran's foreign minister says ready for war or dialogue over U.S. threats. I told y'all they standing at the door ready. That was before I even saw this. Protests broke out over soaring prices in Iran in December 2028. Let me tell y'all something. After the rial plunged to a record low against the United States dollar, how did I know their name was going to be brought up somewhere in addition to the protests just a few months ago? December. This is not real upset from real Iranian citizen. This is not that. And I'm sorry to them people, but y'all let the US come in and try to sow seeds of dissension so that they can have, like I said, like that man said after I said what I said, child, external. Okay, hopes and fears. Two of Cups. They would like to have a conversation. Iran does not want to go to war with the US. This is their hopes and fears. So their hope is to have a dialogue and then have something good come out of it. They fear, though, a dialogue because what's a dialogue with the US? What's a promise made by the US? The outcome is death and reversed. This gives me almost on the brink of an all out war. The US is trying to find a way to get in there without being confronted by very aggressive Iranian defense. So basically, the US would like to go in, but I don't think the US is prepared to fight. They're not prepared for a war. So Iran doesn't want it. The US is not prepared for it. You notice they drop a bomb here and there, and that's it. Back in the day, if we dropped bombs, we sent troops as well. They didn't do that. They dropped a little cute little bomb, not cute, but they dropped a bomb in Nigeria, bombed Iran's nuclear facilities, and that's it though. But you see what they did to Venezuela, who can't really defend herself like Africa and Iran can? So you see what's the difference here? Yeah, you see the difference now. They know that it wouldn't be an easy win if they went in with straight violence. So this is them. They would run right in if they felt like they would win, but they not running right in. They being a little cautious because it might not be an easy win. And because the U.S. is broke and Africa is kicking them out, so they can't just withdraw from the Bank of Africa. No. So they got to be a bully and see who's weak. They would, if they felt like they were strong enough, they would. They would run up in there. Death in reverse. They're citizens. Iran also does not want to kill its own citizens, but the people that they're dealing with, they're not going to allow them to open the doors for the U.S. because they ain't going to get Iran back if they do that. And if it's any regular U.S. citizens mixed in with those seeds that were planted to cause dissension, take your ass to the house. Go home. Find a way to increase your income so that you can afford whatever prices are soaring. Because let me tell you, yes, this is the black magic you heard of because I'm black. It's expensive everywhere, and it's way more expensive in the US. So if you are in Iran, but you are siding with the US, move your ass on over here and see how quickly you want to go back home. If you can't afford Iran, you can't afford for the US to come in and take over Iran. I promise you that. I promise you that. If the prices are soaring in Iran now, if the US overthrows your government and it becomes the United States of Iran, eventually what's going to happen is they're going to colonize your ass out. So, because the protests were seeds of dissension, they will die out because the citizens will see our government ain't playing. And all the people who were the seeds of dissension. Now, you see, the U.S. is telling their military to evacuate. So the U.S. has a presence there in Iran. That is how the dissension grew. And now they're telling their citizens, now, mind you, the U.S. wanted to bomb Africa, bomb Nigeria because of Christians there. The United States is only advising their military personnel to evacuate. They won't bomb Iran because their own government personnel could be in trouble. They're just telling them to get out. But they bomb Nigeria for Christians. Iranians, if there are any of you all who do prefer the U.S. government over yours because you think shit is sweet, I'm going to tell you something a little bit about Black Wall Street. Or the town full of Black citizens in the U.S. that's buried under Lake Lanier. Speak to the natives of North America, what we call the United States of America, about what happened when the Great White Hope comes in to your country. Where do the natives go? Where do the natives go? Where they go? Oh. All right. The U.S. influence is about to die down in Iran. So the protests themselves will die down as well. And it will be just on the brink of an all out war simply because Iran is ready for you. The U.S. not so much, not ready for an all out war. The U.S. is calling bluffs right now. And if you fold, you sold. Period. The real citizens of Iran, though, they'll shine through. They'll be the ones with sense. And you guys were infiltrated. But the infiltrators are getting ready to get out, leaving you all and some of these people dead to the bed. They just gonna creep out. Now that's what I got for Iran. Actually, I want to look at this because this is the U.S., in my opinion, going broke because everybody is taking their stuff back, which would leave the U.S. and France broke because they thieved them. Thieves. Two of Pentacles in reverse. Child. You know, Paris was never on my bucket list. I've never been excited about that. And my cousin went. And while she did say that at night the Eiffel Tower was beautiful, she said it smelled bad. She said it smelled bad. I don't know if it has something to do with the water close to there or something like that, but I remember her saying it smelled bad near the Eiffel Tower, although she said it was beautiful at night. Two of Pentacles in reverse in the past position. I think that's the U.S. and France. Everybody prices rising because the US and France, or the US is going broke. They don't have no more leverage over everybody else's stuff anymore. And nobody is buying into their fugazi wazies. So yeah, they was able to maintain off leverage and clout. I've never been to Skid Row, so I don't know how much the prostitutes out there are, but if you know, all the more power to you. They've got rats and sewage issues there. Okay. She didn't go into details, and this was years ago, but I just remember her saying it. The Eiffel Tower was really pretty at night, but I do remember her saying it didn't smell good. All right. Yeah. It seems like countries start peeping the US as they got ready for their let's go colonize again. Let's go recolonize again. But it didn't get kicked off to a good start because these people have been privy to history and they learned, which unfortunately it doesn't seem like France and the US did. So they were kicked out, no longer able to just lollygag and do whatever they want. No, they pushed back with wherever they came from. From the early days of their world exploration when they were able to colonize and take the resources, these people are taking their resources back, kicking them out. They just had a tick issue too. Not surprising. I mean, let me tell you why I'm not surprised about them recently have a tick issue and their travelers were bringing them to the UK. Don't they always? Y'all got to get it together, France. That's that ingrained racism. Y'all never got the opportunity to learn. I just typed in world worst plagues in history. Some of you guys remember me going down this this list in our members live to show something that you got to be a member to see. Just hello. History's seven deadliest plagues. 1334 to 1353, Black Death. 75 million to 200 million. The second pandemic of the bubonic plague likely sprang up in northeastern China, killing maybe 5 million fast. It moved west through India, Syria, and Mesopotamia. In 1346, it struck a trading port in Kaffa in the Black Sea. Ships departing Kaffa carried trade goods and also carried rats who carried fleas. Hear that, Liv? You said they recently had a tick issue too. And you also said, yeah, they've got rats and sewage issues there. Ships departing Kaffa. Now, this is the Black Plague. Carried trade goods and also carried rats who carried fleas, aka ticks, who carried Yersinia pestis, which is a disease. In October 1347, those ships docked in Sicily. Their hulls full of dead and dying sailors. By the time harbor authorities realized what the ships brought, it was too late. Over the next 5 years, the Black Death killed almost half of Europe. Remember in Genesis, after Cain and all his lineage was condemned and marked so they stood out from the rest of humanity? You know what God said to the rest of civilization? Don't kill them. I know y'all got good reason to because they take joy in killing y'all, but don't worry about it. I work through nature. So I got this. Y'all don't kill them though. Black Plague. The Black Death killed almost half of Europe. Want to know what happened? Panic stirred a fervor for scapegoating, and anti Semitic pogroms tailed the advance of the epidemic. You mean to tell me Europeans are anti Semitic? You mean to tell me that's how it happened? So it wasn't blacks. It was you. Oh. And sometimes the Jewish populations were completely annihilated. This is where they get that blacks. We're just like you. No, 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 no. The plague had a color because there was never any of those plagues in Africa. Get your ass out of here because with that, we're all the same, just different colors. No, we're not. And you're on the wrong channel. If you think that I'm going to kumbaya with you, I'm here to teach the truth. And even biology and history tells that we are not the same. Plagues do have a color. And if they are not prejudiced to color, they're definitely paying attention to your biology. Black community, where was our plague that wiped off nearly half of Africa? What disease was that? Black Americans. Remember that plague that we experienced back in the 50s in the US that wiped out half of the black population no, we don't remember. Africans. Remember that time the African plague came out and wiped out half of nope, don't remember, do we? So shut up. I'm just stating facts here and you talking about plagues don't see color. How you know what they see? The facts say they see something. It may not be color, but what's in you? And I'm just reading these facts in response to a fact that Liv gave about France. She said that they had a rat and tick and sewer issue. It reminded me of something. The 1918 flu. From 1918 to 1920. My granddaddy was born in 1920 and lived all the way up to 94. No plague or nothing. My granddaddy was born during the 1918 flu. Lived to see 94. Died in a room on the other side of this house with me and my mama by his side, ushering in him into the ancestral realms peacefully with a smile on his face. He died with a smile on his face and my picture in his wallet. No plague in sight. Anyways, 5 days after the pandemic influenza of 1918 made landfall at Brevig Mission, a remote village in Alaska, who lives there? Oh, 90% of the community was dead. The house I live in is paid for, honey. I don't pay any mortgage on here. Talking about since your grandparents never bought a house. Everybody in my family, almost everybody in my family is homeowners. And I'm their realtor. I became a realtor, and everybody who didn't have a house start getting one with my help. Anyways, the house that you guys are watching me sit in has been paid off for ages. Anyways, you guys. In Philadelphia, priests collected corpses in horse-drawn carriages. Mm. In parts of India, the devastation was so complete that bodies were left out for the jackals to pick at. My God. It arrived in Bombay in June 1918 on troop ships returning soldiers from the battlegrounds of World War I, and by year's end had claimed possibly as many as 18.5 million lives in Southeast Asia. Freetown, Sierra Leone. This was after apartheid. You didn't join just a few seconds ago. You've been in here. Persia may have lost as many as 22% of people. Mm-mm-mm. Unlike COVID-19, which is the deadliest for the elderly, half of influenza's casualties were young, in their 20s and 30s. Oh, they do mention how it affected Africa. Here you go. Too bad that troll isn't here. The economic effects took to the workforce were sharp and various. In parts of the US, manufacturing output declined by 50%. Croplands and food production stalled in Africa. Mhm. New World smallpox. Smallpox had a familiar scourge in many parts of the world for centuries when the first Europeans arrived on American shores. That sound like they brought it. It sound like they said Europeans brought it. How come all these plagues affect Europe and Europeans? Can any doctor tell me? 20 to 60% of those it infected in Europe died. But the survivors emerged immune. But the pre-Columbian indigenous people of America, the ones that were there before these people, were immunologically naive to the variola virus that landed aboard a Spanish ship at present day Veracruz. So Europe and the Spanish ships that helped colonize, all of them got plagued. They were not, listen, the Native Americans were, their immune systems were naive to the virus that landed aboard a Spanish ship. The continent was perfectly vulnerable. The outbreak seeded by first contact was catastrophic. Waves of infection broke on the continent for decades. Whoever didn't die of smallpox was killed by the imported influenza that chased the smallpox or the measles epidemic that surged in its wake. The bubonic plague. The disease, now confirmed to be bubonic plague, reached Constantinople, capital of late Roman and Byzantine Empire, another one who joined with Britain to fund explorations that later turned into colonization of. Oh, it was soon killing 10,000 people a day. Corpses littered public spaces and were stacked like produce indoors. It was perhaps the first major outbreak of bubonic plague the world had seen, and the record suggests that it extended across continents, reaching Roman Egypt. It doesn't say Roman. It doesn't say Roman then Egypt. Roman Egypt. Maybe the Roman Egypt. Okay, that means the parts of Egypt that was colonized by Rome. The Mediterranean, Northern Europe, and the Arabian Peninsula. Recent scholarship analyzing scientific findings alongside textual and da 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 da, it may have left an even further reaching imprint on the early medieval world than previously understood. Well, I won't read all the plagues, but I only brought that up because Miss Liv mentioned France and their sewer problems and their rat and tick problems, and it reminded me of their history. Anybody who participated in the slave trade, including the Arabs, because one of them hit the bubonic plague, hit the Arabian Peninsula. So even the Arabs, all of them suffered plagues. This is the United States and France going broke, getting kicked out of their resources. They got pushed back after trying to run up in Africa. You see sun, you see this baby on a white horse, this naked baby, and the sunflowers. This is an esoteric teaching built into the card through its imagery to tell you guys in the place of the sun, the heat places, the hot places, equatorial lands where the people are sun kissed. Those people are represented by sunflowers, meaning they grew from soil of sunny lands. They're as pure as an original brand new baby. Original humans. Tried to run up in their lands in Africa, fucked around and found out. The moon card, Africa falls under the rulership of the moon, which falls under the rulership of Cancer in astrology. So both of these are the motherland. First places to see the sun and the moon. Tried to run up in there in the motherland and found out that you can get touched. They're broke. U.S. and France are broke and struggling because they've been kicked out of Africa, which is where they've been looting the bulk of their resources. And everybody's feeling it economically because they're not able to be the major looters and then do business with everybody else who did secondhand business or secondhand scamming of Africa by way of business with the U.S. All right, now let's see how the U.S. is looking at Iran and what their actions are going to be. Spirit, please allow me to conjure up the spirit, soul, and collective energy of the United States government. Absolutely. And so are other nations. But once Africa did, other nations start feeling a little routed. But that's normal. That's what Black people do. We inspire, make people feel strong and good. That's why they're trying to reprimand that black journalist who spoke so kindly and encouraging to that Jacksonville Jaguars coach. Too much soul. It bothered them. It bothers them when we show that we are genuinely good people, because at every given time, us reacting in violence would help their guilt. The more we do not retaliate with the same violence that we have gotten, the more it leaves room for their guilt to consume them, which is why the Creator said, don't touch them. I will do it. Nature will do it. And now we see more interracial dating than any era in history for a reason. These people are trying to survive. And if we just let them be, God, through nature, will be. And we'll see how strong they are without their guns and things like that that only work on humans. Most High Mother and Father God. And if you need to be on the right side of right, get that hate out your heart. Acknowledge that it's there. If it is Flamingo gameplay, get that hate out your heart. That's my advice to you guys, because I don't even hate you guys. Get that hate out of your heart. Spoken from an oracle who can see the future, the past, and the present. It will eat you alive. Your immune system is weaker by hate. I promise. Just like it weakens through trauma, prejudice, hate. Your immune systems, that's why you age so bad. That and because of the elements, they don't agree. I'm just saying. But you can actually turn your biological makeup around by ridding yourself of that hate that has been ingrained in your DNA. I promise you, you will start to see physical changes in your body, internal first. But if you want to live a better life, you gotta get that hate up out your body, because it's a killer, like trauma is. And y'all immune systems already, compared to the rest of humanity, are on the weaker side because of your poor relationship with the sun. So this ain't no shade. But if you want to be real about biology and about yourself, then take away the way you feel about these things that I'm saying and heed my advice as a child of the sun. Remove the hate and allow your body to recover. And not just recover, but start being able to evolve. You guys have been living around ancient people too long to not know what it takes to naturally adapt and evolve. We see plants and we see animals do it all the time. After so long being exposed to a certain environment, their biology changes so that they can adapt and survive. But but the hate that you guys have ingrained in your system that's tied to your privilege and your power, you feel like if you give up your hate, you might see something. You might see that you were wrong. And to be honest, everybody who's racist runs from guilt. It's not even fear of Black people's retaliation. Your fear is the guilt that you might have to sit with. And it's not as bad when it's coming from somebody else, because now you can blame them. Even though they may have a right to do it, you can still blame them for what they did. But when nobody's doing anything to you but your own conscience, it's the worst punishment, the worst. That's why you guys like to continue to provoke Black people, so that you can justify your anger or your continued hate. The more we don't do it, the more we allow for you guys to reflect. And that reflection is what kills you guys. It's what really you guys really run from your reflections. United States of America, what is your business and your intentions and your plans for Iran? United States of American government, spirit, please allow me to look into their spirit souls, collective energies, their war rooms, their top secret documentations. Let me see them. My spirits laugh, and so I laugh. Allow me to see what the U.S.'s intentions, plans, and purposes are for their business in Iran, and will the United States wage war with Iran? I see they're a little cautious, rightfully so. Will we go ahead and just do it? The United States is being a bully, and this is actually my war card, but it's in the present position. So in this case, the United States launched a soft rollout of a little war. Thank you. It's a pants outfit, Big Mac. They launched a soft war against Iraq, but it didn't go well. So the United States has actually experienced a form of defeat from their first rollout. And that's because of the seeds of dissension that have been sown while U.S. government officials have been in Iran. They thought by activating these plants that that would help them. But Iran has shown them, we don't give a fuck. We're not going to allow you to use our citizens to hold us hostage. So any of them that seem like they are more in alignment with you, they gotta go. And the US was like, fuck, we wasn't expecting that. And then Iran is posted up at the door and said, we're ready for war or we're ready for conversations. So now the US is having a shit. And this is good because Iran understands that the US did that and was waiting for a sign of weakness. If Iran did not respond the way it did, the US would have came and dropped another bomb. Because they look weak. So that's why I said the US lost this is a defeat for them. And they also have to go back and re-strategize with those two swords. They thought these people would help them get closer to that water back there, but in this case, this is oil. But you see those people? They lost their ability to fight. They mourning. And the US just looking at them like, shit. Sucks for y'all. Challenges their people. In my opinion, I'm telling y'all, America fanned the flames over there on those citizens, and the citizens were the one who paid the cost. And that's why they blacked out their media except for their domestic media, because they don't need their citizens continuing being influenced by the US when you have the US president telling the citizens to keep protesting even though they're dying. If y'all protesting because y'all really, really, really feel that way, you're a fucking fool. I can't even be nice about it no more. You're a fucking fool. Sorry, not sorry. But it has to be said that way because we're in a different time now. Nobody has time to be cutesy with y'all no more, because that's what got so many people unalive from being in the streets, thinking they can just join a trendy protest. No, y'all government showed y'all ain't no US going on over here. And if you want to be with the US, you better go before we find you. Y'all were set up over there in Iran. Y'all have had the US over there for a while at those bases and things like that. And after all this time, they get ingrained into the community, and then they send more over there to do dirty work. They'll send a Iranian spy that works with the West to go over there. Y'all don't know how many of y'all people are infiltrating y'all because they're already in alignment with the US and came and sowed all these seeds of dissension all of a sudden in December. So y'all just got upset. This would be in the past position, this would be the strike in June 2025 that the US made on their nuclear facilities. That was the first strike in this soft core war that they launched. That was the first strike, but it was unprovoked because this is the ace. There's nothing that comes before it. It's the ace. So out of nowhere. Now, other things can come out of this initial action, but this is the initial action that triggers everything else we see today. The Empress. I hope that the United States doesn't turn their attention on their own citizens. Unless it's in a good way, and this could be a good way. Not sure what this Empress is yet. Let me look at her. It's a very fertile land, though. I hope it's not Africa again, but it could be. The US isn't prepared to fight, even though they tried to. Justice. They would need an excuse for the rest of the government to agree to start a war. So that's the problem. The US would need the rest of the government, Congress and all of that, to agree to use our full force against Iran, which is what the president wants. He wants America to agree to it. He wants the backing of the United States and the rest of the branches of the government to launch a full-fledged war, in turn sending troops over there. Advice for them, though, is to let go of other people's stuff, and find a way to build on your own. Stop trying to take other people's stuff, and stop trying to reign and rule through what you can get through other people, because that leaves you poor. Other people are always going to decide either not to share anymore or not to let you take their stuff anymore. When that happens, they're not wrong. You can't bully people for saying you are not allowed to steal from me anymore. So your advice is to let go. And whatever greedy ambitions you have, find a way to get it on your own without stealing it, because nature will step in, and no matter what you or anyone in this chat thinks or what you guys think, Mother Earth will rebalance and adjust itself. Both of these are Venus. So both of these are the goddess, the mother goddess. And to be honest, that's the only thing that can save the planet is when the divine feminine stands up, because we're the most lethal when it comes to protecting our children and our homes. Think about a female, a lioness. Think about a mama. They call them mama bears for a reason. Mother Earth will do the same thing. Your battle will be against nature, the United States, and all of nature's resources, including the people. Nature will not support you sustaining because you're sustaining from stealing, which is why this is the advice card. Drop it. External to the U.S., judgment. First, you got to get charged and have your day in the higher courts. Then